Good afternoon, good evening, and good day. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. And if you couldn't tell by all of this, well, the computer is fighting me again. So we are in our web-based streaming software instead of the one on the computer. And our frame rate is eh, good thing this isn't an action show. Let me make sure you can hear me, and then I will get the invites out to the co-hosts, and then we will pull up the articles and get started. Uh, it kind of figures that well, I was going to start like 10 minutes early. That didn't happen. Uh, let's see. Audio. Okay, there we go. So next up, we need to paste in. Okay, we did that. All right, and then we'll copy. Then we'll go to the chat for most of these folks. Chat there. And paste. And then we'll open up an email for the other three. And new mail. I say three. It's four. April 7th. I would have done this earlier, but I have to have the link to the join button, and if the software won't turn on, I it's the same link every week for that one, but if it won't turn on, I can't really say, "Meet me over there." And, obviously on this different software, it's gonna be a different link. Alright, so we'll send that, and we'll come back here to you all, and that also means I can't look you in the eye, because if I move this to the teleprompter screen, then it doesn't let me push all the buttons we need. So let's see, let's pull the browser back up and open up the first article. And that doesn't like the one I remember, but whatever. The Mac is trying to be helpful, and it pulled it up way over here, which is the opposite of helpful. I want it over here. That's the whole reason I clicked on the browser before clicking on the deadgum link. All right, now we're going to share screen. It is easy to find out which browser I'm looking to share, though. And I can guarantee that audio will be there or not. All right. Look over here. Um, I don't like this view. How about this view? Logger Reacts view. Okay, so the White House has directed NASA to create a time standard on the moon and Mars as well. But what does this have to do with anything to do with our green theme? Well, this green, uh, putting it myself here, has been an outspoken critic of daylight saving for a while, and my only comment was hopefully they don't include such a concept in this new standard, and then perhaps that will also give them the nudge they need to finally uh, stop. What is it called? Just parading around, doing the right thing, and ending it here in most of the world. Uh, because obviously, if it were actually that important, we would have agreed on dates and times and how long, and instead we've got this menagerie of when folks want to fiddle with the clock. When we should really be fiddling with the school schedules, work schedules, and our leisure time on our own. It's not that hard to say, hey, in the springtime, school start at 9 a.m., and in the wintertime, school start at 10 a.m. or 12 even. Because some of these places, depending on where you are, if you're on the east side of a time zone or the west side of a time zone, it's a marked difference in what actually happens. And depending on your latitude, that might not actually have the effect of getting children to school in daylight at all. Or if you look at China with their ginormous time zone, which is just equally ridiculous, unless we were to do something like go on global time, and then just again let businesses and organizations set their times on their own, not their watches, but just their hours, what they do. So let's see about what was I clicking on when this thing was going wild. Andrews is here and he says, "Good evening. I didn't have the chat open because I'm not used to running this solo." This is the same software I run the Tesla Live show from. Uh, and Anders says, "Good evening." Good evening, Anders. So aside from me complaining about time, let's click over here. It's solidly lit up. Now let's click the next article and watch it open randomly somewhere else. Yeah, of course. It opens in the window that I'm looking at right now. And good thing it did, just because my browser cleared everything and it doesn't have me logged in. So let me log in and next and log in and then a security key. Okay. And then move this crap to the right tab or not the right tab, the right window. Move tab to the writer's window. Where's writer's? It doesn't call itself writers. It calls itself exclusive. Um, fun times. Excuse me. Then I have to remember to switch tab before I close the old one. Otherwise, it won't go. All right. So Colin here says that land use is one of those topics where public perception is often wildly out of sync with reality. If you're worried about solar or PV or golf, so photovoltaic solar or golf, wait until you hear about ethanol in the US. So ethanol is something we do to our gas here to supposedly make it cleaner burning, but really all it does is wear our engines out faster and um, produce more compounds because we don't burn it in the most intelligent way. And so what it does is uh, it just reduces the gas mileage, and so we end up burning more. It's doing the opposite. All it does is help the farms out. And I know that's quite an overstatement. It does do something, but it's not achieving the mission. Let's say that. Uh, so let's see here. So golf courses take up more space than solar power in the UK, and these are golf courses. This is total UK land, so 1%. And then you've got airports, which take up almost as much as golf courses. And then you've got future solar, which is going to be nice. And you've got the current solar, which is almost nothing. So don't worry about solar. Plus, if you put it on roofs or other occupied land, then you don't have to say that solar is taking up the land. You can say that car parks or uh, schools or homes are taking up the land, and these solar panels are just sitting on top. Uh, where was I going with this? So we've got that working. I think what I might do is just start copying in the links again, because if it's going to just pop them wherever, that's not helpful. This one is directly climaty and is not fun. We've got, oh, that's what I was doing. See, um, the lights decided to jump off the Wi-Fi. They're back. Yay. Hello, Moto. Yeah, the door. Leave it open, please. Want to come on, get on the show? She's uh, growing so tall. She can reach the doors easily now. So now she's opening them. Well, not opening them. She's pushing them open if they're already unlatched and closing them all over the place. Let me click this real quick. Mm, 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 mm. I said click it real quick, but it's not responding. So anyway, let's talk about hurricanes. So if I find where I put you guys at. Not there. Not there. I shouldn't have clicked that. Oh, the one with the speaker on it. I like that. All right, so it could well be a blockbuster hurricane season, and that's not a good thing. Although not quite literally, the Atlantic Ocean is on fire right now. So they're talking about the relative temperatures versus, let's see, yeah, versus normal. So surface temperature anomaly in degrees centigrade 14-day average, 18 March through 31 March, over the 30-year climatology from 1991 to 2020. And uh, yes, we're anywhere from uh, zero point 0.6 to 6.2. Wow. And if you recall, hurricanes are heat based, heat powered. So having that warmer water just gives them more fuel for the fire, and that's not a good thing. Not at all. Well, there's a little bit of cold spots, but that could be. I don't think that's going to help us that much. Oof. So whenever people say that they don't need to be concerned with weather or climate or anything they can do to contribute to those two things, this. Let's move on. This one is just kind of a new play on something that why can't I paste and go? Did I not copy? I could have sworn I had copy. There we go. Now it works. Whatever. So this one is kind of a new take on something we've already been doing. This is a new way to look at pumped hydro because something we've been looking at in the past with pumped hydro is the way we do it is you need to build a dam, and there are only so many suitable places to build a dam, and that are adjacent to an elevation change. But we've got a lot of elevation changes that would work that are not near a river, lake, or stream. So what these folks are talking about doing and implementing is pumped hydro, but closed loop. So they're going to similar to the concept you saw of the stacking the blocks that actually ended up getting built in China, stacking the concrete blocks or lead blocks or whatever, and then dropping them and then picking back up. We're going to do that, but still with water, so you can use existing systems. And hey, Lee, happy Sunday! All is well, indeed. Yeah, so we'll still be able to do that concept, but it will be with pumped hydro. But instead of it being released into a lake or stream or river on the other side of the grade of what you're trying to do, uh, it's just gonna be closed loop. So it'll be a tank at the bottom and a tank at the top, and they might not be a tank. It might be a reservoir cave built into the mountain, depending on what you have to work with, and we'll just flow that up and flow that down, and you can use the exact same tech that we've been using for pumped hydro, but with modern motors and controllers and stuff, rather than having to make all this concrete or source all this lead and dig a deep shaft and pick them up and put them down like China chose to do with that concept. So this is something to look at. Uh, so this is another form of potential and kinetic energy storage rather than chemical in the case of batteries or thermal in the case of the molten salts, that sort of thing. There's not one solution for everything, so having more options to do this without combusting stuff is great, especially when you have all the folks complaining about, oh, well, the sun doesn't shine all day and the wind doesn't always blow and all that same jazz they always say. While it's true, if you look further, then you'll realize that their arguments are not in good faith, or they're just horribly ignorant of what's going on in the real world, and so they just myopically focused in on the trees for the forest. They didn't really care, and somebody else who knew that was taking advantage of them, and they're just parroting what they heard on, let's say, Fox News. Let's continue on to. We've been talking a lot about unions. Just click the wrong type of copy. Let me get the right type of copy. We've been talking about unions. We're not going to talk about unions today. We're going to talk about XAI. They are raising pay rates and uh, compensation overall, as well as getting more competitive in their hiring because other teams, especially OpenAI, are trying to steal away Tesla engineers and steal away XAI engineers. So to an extent, the free market works, but that doesn't mean they should have free reign either. Keep an eye on them. And that was all I had to say on that. All right, let's go on over to the Tesla. I don't need to copy that. I can just type it in. Excuse me. All right, we'll start with Tesla, but this is something we're going to do. And since my friend Patrick is much better at these numbers, we will kind of just go over the high levels and then catch us on Wednesday at the Tesla Live Show to dig deep into these, at least for Tesla. I don't know that we'll touch on the other ones we're going to discuss today, just because they're not on topic for that show. So the earnings call is going to be on April 23rd, and let's take a look at the press release for the production numbers. You're looking at obviously coming out of Austin since they moved. 3NY produced 412,376 and managed to get 369,783 into the hands of customers. Uh, there's going to be a narrative that, oh my goodness, the lots are overflowing. Yes, there are still some on the lots, but no, it's not like what we're hearing the dealers complain about with their domestic EVs. That these are domestic EVs as well, but the legacy domestic EVs where the dealers are complaining they can't move them, while the manufacturers continue to pump them out. This is not that. Remember that the way that Tesla makes their cars is they make them all quarter long, but in the beginning of the quarter, they get them on boats for export, and then as you approach the end of the quarter, they start getting closer and closer to the factory to get them out on time. And they have started to smooth this out a little bit, but they're still addicted to this. And so there will be some that are on the lot, but there are going to be a lot more that are on a ship or train headed out of the country. Because now, if it is not going to make it anywhere on time, even across the street, then why not put it on a transport and get a head start on quarter two? Because quarter ones are typically the weakest, and this one is the weakest in several years for Tesla and others. But we'll talk about that in a minute about what happened with Tesla with this. So, other models, which will be S, X, and Cybertruck, and Semi, if they sold any new ones, would be 20,995 built with 17,027 delivered. Uh, and overall, 2% are leased, and that number is substantially decreased because Tesla leases are, well, they're not normal. You can't buy your car at the end, and that changes the reason that some people will lease. And it's not to say that leasing still doesn't work for some people. It's just to say that when you take away one of the options to get rid of the car at the end of the term, you get rid of a lot of people who would want to lease because that whole menu of options you have for working with the car are part of why it's so popular out there. Why it used to be more popular here. All right, so that's a lot shorter now. They only have two categories. Let's go on to the next one. What have we got? Let's start with their competition in China. Let's go to BYD. I know I click copy link to copy link. It's quite a little bit of travel with the mouse to go from this middle of this screen to the middle of this screen for it to not want to go, even though I know I clicked it. Anyway, so Tesla outsold BYD in quarter one of uh, 2024 to regain the world's largest EV seller title. In the past, BYD was outselling both in NEVs, which are the new energy vehicles, which is anything from a start-stop hybrid that doesn't even run the air conditioner when the engine is stopped, all the way up to a full-fledged EV plug-in with 300 miles range. But most of the time, it was the our little Wangong Mini, Wulong Gong. I forget the whole name of the car. It's fun to say, but they were comparing that little NEV versus all of the Tesla fleet in China, and they probably still are, and Tesla managed to outsell them this quarter. That's interesting. Let's take a look. Da, da, da. BYD reported estimates of a slight global downturn. 386,810 vehicles in quarter one is Tesla, and BYD did 300,114 battery electric vehicles. So it's still impressive to me that the Tesla was keeping up or beating them, and now beating them again with a much larger mix of fuller cars. Let's call them that. Bigger, more range, more capable cars. Uh, After holding it for most of last year and briefly outpaced by BYD in quarter four for the first time. And deliveries marked 8.5% decline year over year, down from 22,875 vehicles delivered in quarter one of 2023, and a roughly 20.2% drop from quarter four. You don't compare quarter one to quarter four like that. It's not useful information. Comparing it to the last quarter one is much more useful information. BYD fell 43% from its record quarterly high, so their last quarter to this quarter, uh, from 526,409 in Q4. But they saw 36% from the first quarter of 2023. So they went up, Tesla went down from year to year, and they both fell dramatically from quarter four to quarter one. And in addition, Musk responded to the reports pointing that Tesla said is much more than just an automotive company. He did that a lot last week, and as well as getting his hands slapped for spreading false information by a couple of regulatory agencies. Not really regulatory agencies, but like the entity that he was telling lies about. Said, no, you're lying about us. So and I was talking about him. For those who aren't aware, he was spreading voter lies again, and the Texas Voter Bureau, whatever they're called, and another kind of southern right wing leaning uh, entity also said he was not telling the whole truth. Uh, and what that is about was he was either willfully or ignorantly sharing numbers that were from the Social Security Agency, and they report what they're reporting is the number of times that something was looked up in their system versus uh, what he was assuming or he was hoping that we would assume that it was the actual number of voter registrations, but when you use the numbers that incorrectly, it's very easy to tell when you're wrong because he was suggesting that there were 100 million new voters and there weren't even that many new people in those places. So kind of tough. Um, Let me see what's up. We should not have switched off of solar back off of battery. Let's take a quick look and see. I only heard one set of beeps, not three. So it was likely this computer didn't like something with power for a moment. Oh, no, we're still at 84% battery. Pulling in plenty of solar, more than we're outputting. So yeah, we're good. So anyway, with that, that's what I'm referring to there. And now let's see what he said about BYD. Tesla is an AI robotics company that appears to many to be a car company. And he said that a couple times. Anders said 164,000. Oh, sorry, no, that's a decimal separator. So 164 and 90 cents US dollars, down 6.21. Okay, for the stock. All right, interesting. Yeah, the stock has been um, an interesting one this year and last year. Hopefully, it finds its rocket pack and gets back on because that will be that will be appreciated. All right, so that's BYD. We're done with BYD. Let's go to another automaker and their sales. Let's go to Japan. All right, I'm clicking copy link. I'm coming over here to right click paste. Hey, it worked. Paste and go. This one's coming from Inside EVs regarding Nissan. Nissan sales remained stable at over 5,000 in quarter one of 2024. Uh, the previous leader of US sales, if you're familiar with the fable of the tortoise and the hare, uh, they were definitely the hare. They came out strong and then took a nap. The good thing is they didn't get out of the race. They're just not as strong as they could be. So Nissan vehicle sales over the US during the first quarter of 2024 increased by 8.5% to 283,831. Unfortunately, that's all their vehicles. It's got to be. They're such a small company. There's no way they sold that many EVs. There we go. Unfortunately, EV sales barely increased this time. In quarter one, Nissan's all electric EV sales amounted to 5,284. You're still there. And the product is more compelling this time. 1% more than a year ago. Hey, positive change. Uh, and only slightly more than quarter four. Well, so this is interesting. When a quarter four is less than a quarter one, that you can use that. That's telling you that there's a trend happening and kind of a good one for them. So quarter four was 5,113, and the EV share out of the brand's total volume amounted to 2.2%, compared to 2.4% a year ago. That's not good. You need to do better there. Especially if we go and flip the script on you. If you end up with 2% EV sales, then we have to drop the ICE sales, and then you become a 2% of your former self in the new market. That's what you're looking at there. So the Aria recorded 4142 sales last quarter, up 45% year over year. Good job, Aria. And the Leaf is down 51% to 1142. And I mean, it's a dead end product. They're not planning to do anything with it. And if you're not getting a good sale and it's doesn't meet your needs, I don't expect you to buy. Especially since it still uses Chatamo. It doesn't even use CCS1, so it's a dead end product all around. Anyway, let's move on to the next automaker. Let's look at let's go to Normal, Illinois. Bring it back to the States a little bit. No, I don't want to delete. I copied the link. If I have to do this randomly twice, this is not helpful. Here we go. Rivian celebrated their 100,000th vehicle milestone. So their 100,000th vehicle was a Rivian R1S. Look at that. Congratulations, Rivian. And now it's time to buckle down and get that number into the millions. And I don't know that I put it in the notes. There was a person on Twitter who went to an event that was showing off the new R vehicles, the R2, R3, R3X. I had a chance to talk with RJ, and RJ convinced him that putting the charge port inlet on the passenger right rear, or sorry, the right rear, made sense, which I think is ridiculous. Um, the way I always describe it is it's much like the folks who work for the phone company and the cable company, where you have to get out of your van, carry a cone all the way around to the other side, and put it down. And the reason they do that is a way to force their employees to do the walk around, make sure there's nothing under the vehicle, no toys, no pets. Uh, but as a home user, to make me do that every time I want to get in and out of my car in my garage or in my driveway is not the most efficient. I mean, yeah, it doesn't hurt me to go check around the vehicle, but it's much more convenient to be able to go to the back corner of the car, I reverse in, so it's actually on my way in. Or if I nosed in, just kind of close my door and go past and hit the other side of the car. Or like the Leaf, pull it from the nose and That is most convenient, and the nose will work for the whole argument of, "Well, what about curbside parking? What about this? What about that?" Put it in the nose. And the Rivian R1 series, it's not too far from the nose, it's just on the driver's side, so it's actually the best compromise between nose and driver's side. Both of the passenger sides don't make any sense, unless you wanna use the argument, "Oh, what about curbside parking?" And as I've said in the past, I'm not everyone, but I have curbside charged my EVs, each of them, 1 time. That's it. Not that I haven't tried to do more, but that's all it's ever worked out, was curbside charging them 1 time each. 1 for the Silver Bolt, 1 for the Red Volt, 1 for the Model S, and 1 for the Model X. And, for the plug-in adaptation I did to the, Prius and the, Civic Hybrid, I never did them on the street because they were just a three-prong, so that wasn't gonna happen. So anyway, that was that other little bit of news I didn't think I included in the notes. He says that he will tell us more, and I hope I saved the tweet so I can find out uh, what RJ told this guy. Because so far I remain unconvinced, as you can tell. Next, let's stay on Rivian for a minute. So, even though the computer was fighting me, I did manage to get several of the stories in segue form. I did literally go through and move them in the notes. And it was a little easier because I didn't find most of the stories till this morning. It was another one of those busy weeks at work and at home. So, and we'll probably have several more of those until the end of the month when the term at school ends and starts into the new term. All right, so the Rivian R1T safety score was boosted in the IIHS pickup category. And this is because in press release on Tuesday, the IIHS reported noted that the R1T had been boosted to a top safety pick plus, and the only one in the large pickup category due to the truck receiving a good score in the updated moderate overlap front test, a requirement for the plus status. Also, the R1T had previously received the base level top safety pick, pending test results officially the pending safety test results officially boosted the pickup status. So this is the same one that Mark told us about, where some tests were just not ready yet, and the results of the test were not ready yet, and this was that. And so good scores. That's something I look at when I buy cars: the crash safety. And speaking of safety and crash safety, fatal traffic incidents in the U.S. have dropped. 2023 dropped. Not bad. Fatal traffic incidents in the U.S. Last year dropped, according to the U.S. safety regulator, who reported the initial 2023 estimates this week. NHTSA released early estimates, noting that incidents decreased 3.6% year over year. That's good. The regulator says that 40,980 people died in motor vehicle crashes last year, down from the 42,514 reported in 2022 and 43,230 reported in 2021. I do like this part about this software is that you can see my mouse most of the time. I don't see it now, but usually you can see it. Um, yeah. So keep up the good work, everybody. Manufacturers, drivers, regulators, road construction. Uh, I wish it were consistent with when it was going to actually copy or just dismiss the menu. All right, let's look at it. Oh, we talked about this one already. How did it get in there twice? Yeah, it got in there twice. Moving on. All right, so this one. This was another one of those sagas. So let's start. Earlier in the week, Elon Musk Some reports that Tesla is scrapping its $25,000 Model 2. We call it the Model Next over at the Tesla Live Show, electric car. And let's just go through this story before we go to the next story. Uh, it's one of those usual Tesla chain stories, but this one happened so quickly. I didn't even hear this part before I heard the next part. All right, so Musk sit down report that Tesla was scrapping the $25,000 car. For the past few years, Tesla was developing a cheaper car. Musk quickly denied the report, saying that Reuters is lying. Tesla scraps a low car cost car plans according to Reuters. And then Musk says Reuters is lying again. And most of the folks that I found online were saying, "Oh, I wonder who's lying more, Reuters or Musk." They both tell falsehoods regularly, but Fred had the most interesting take on it right here for me. Fred is seen as, uh, depending on what side of the camp you're on, he's seen as a Tesla lover or a Tesla hater. I think that he kind of tends to stick to his convictions, even if I don't always agree with the reasoning behind some of his convictions. I do agree that uh, whatever he's saying is likely what he believes. There are cases where I feel there could be some bias or something like from an advertiser or whatever. But that's thinned out with him in the past. Over the not in the past, but it's thinned out with him over time. So typically, if I see him saying something and there's no incentive for anything going on there, then I'll take him at his word. And is is da, 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 uh, the Reuters report did know that Tesla will continue developing self-driving robotaxis, and uh, Musk previously said that Tesla plans to unveil its next-gen vehicles towards the end of the year. And Tesla is currently building its new production systems for the new generation at Texas. Yes. Uh, we'll skip this comment for now. And from a strategic standpoint, this is Fred again. From a strategic standpoint, this made no sense to me. Tesla 100% needs a cheaper vehicle in order to expand its volumes. And we've got a theme of cheaper vehicles right after this, after the next part of this for the rest of the show. Um, Fred says, I didn't believe the report after it first came out. Since I've seen a lot of real issues with Reuters Tesla reporting in the past. So here's a case where Fred is agreeing with Elon. And there are plenty of cases where Fred doesn't either doesn't agree with Elon or just suggests that he'd be better, and then he takes a beating online for it. That's not that's not what you want to see. Not you do want him to do the thing, but you don't want to see people calling him out falsely. Anyway, uh, so he's agreeing that Reuters' track record regarding Tesla is not strong. Even caught them sneakily back editing a post to make it look like Elon lied about calling out their reporting. And he said he wrote a thread about it. It includes the okay, so it's the X embed. I was going to say the tweets, but same thing. Here's why you can't trust the media, he says. Reuters wrote this cheeky thing here today in their report about Tesla selling China-made cars in Canada, implying that Elon Musk wasn't accurate when claiming the original report was false. But they are misreporting their own article. Reuters had reported in November Tesla vehicles after the report was published. Uh, if I click it, it's going to take us to Twitter instead. So basically, he had took a screenshot. That said, it does sound like there's something to the report, with at least Tesla prioritizing the robotaxi over the cheaper vehicle based on Elon's follow-up reaction to the suggestion. I know it's not a reason for bad reporting, but if Tesla had a PR department, it could at least avoid issues like that. I agree there as well. They have now that it wouldn't be a waste if they had somebody competent in a PR department handling PR. And handling something real quick uh, because it popped over you guys and I needed to go away. Um, where'd you go? Uh, not doing what I'm supposed to do, but that's fine. You're back. All right. So Let's move on to the next thing. We're talking about what happened just hours, minutes after Elon did this. I'm glad Tesla isn't my only beat. I would be so tired. Tesla Robotaxi to be unveiled on August 8th, 2024. Robotaxi concept. This was from the latest book by Walter Isaacson. And Tesla CEO Musk has announced that the company will unveil its robotaxi design based on their next gen vehicle platform on August 8th. Earlier today, we told you about a report from Reuters that said Tesla was focusing its efforts on developing robotaxi, deciding to shelf plans, at least for now, for its affordable 25K model. While Musk refuted the story, saying that through a post on X that Reuters was lying, a few hours later, Musk took to X again to announce the company will unveil robotaxi design later this summer. Tesla Robotaxi unveil on 8/8. And because this was such a short post, there's speculation that because 8 is a lucky number in China, we're going to see um, something for that. We're also seeing that because it's such a short window that they aren't actually ready, and Elon is whipping, metaphorically, the engineers and marketers and design team to get something done. Hurry up, hurry up. We're going to be late. Who knows? Uh, Mark had asked us what we think about it, and I said, well, it's going to be a good party, and they'll probably be late at whatever it is. And some folks will say it's impossible, and then it'll be delivered. Hi, baby. How are you? Mail. We already got the mail. Oh, don't put the shoes on your face. It's nasty. Take them off. Yeah. She's got her house shoes on her hands, and she put them to her face. Do you want those on? You want help? Okay, come here. You can say hi. Okay. Okay. No. Yeah, you're wearing shoes now. Apple. What apple? I don't have an apple. We didn't even buy apples at the grocery store today. Shoes. Yes, that's daddy. No, baby doesn't need a snack. Yes, that's daddy's snack. But daddy doesn't need it right now either. That's why it's still over there. Yes, those are cute shoes. Daddy's shoes are out at the door, so that I can wear them outside where we wear shoes. Because in the house we don't wear shoes. So, except house shoes. Daddy doesn't have house shoes. At least not here. Mommy does have house shoes. Baby shoes, yes. Yeah, your baby outside shoes are over the door. Okay, so the robotaxi. Yes, you can wear shoes in the robotaxi. You want down? Okay, have fun. Yeah, he lost a shoe. You're playing around. Give it here. I'll put it back on again. Here. If you go one shoe, not one no shoe, you're gonna fall. Have fun. She lost a shoe getting down. Um, yeah, so we'll see what happens with the robotaxi. I'm not holding my breath, and if it does what it's supposed to do, it will, as I said about the Segway, uh, when it was called it will reshape the way that cities are built and architected and all that. But we said it about the Segway, and it didn't happen at all. So I'm just going to play this one by ear, and then as it gets closer, I'll look at near term predictions on it uh, rather than long term predictions. And so here is Franz next to a kind of a mock up of sorts. It looks like a Model 3 or Y rear seats right there because I see a bench, so it's 3 seats, and it's in what we'd call the front. Anyway, let's move on. So we were talking about Whoa. My time machine backup is just being a jerk. It's filling up my drive, and because of that, they just crashed my Outlook again. I had to reinstall it last week because the time machine let my drive get full. Here you go, baby. And I don't appreciate it. So let me go into this tool here that I've found that lets me clear out their crap and run a fresh scan, and then I will manually delete the time machine images while we wait on it because that is unacceptable. Thanks, Apple. You know best. And what's ridiculous to me is that I'm fully connected to the place where it puts the files, so it's supposed to delete them when it finishes getting them there, and it's not doing that right now, or even close. Um, so I'll keep an eye on this scan, and then we'll delete some stuff. But let's hope it doesn't kick us off air in the meantime. Let's go back to YouTube, make sure that's still working. It's not on the live anymore. There we go. And then when it finishes, we will go back to it. All right, where are you guys at? I don't see you. I know we're still on, but I don't see. Ah, there it is. Perfect. And now back to what we were sharing. And now let's try to copy the link again. So speaking of road taxis, speaking of EVs, let me check this scan real quick. Not done yet. Let's paste and go. This UC Berkeley study confirms that yes, EVs work. They do what they promise they'll do. And so that's saving money on operating costs and cleaning the air. Uh, it's not a surprise for those of us that have been paying any attention whatsoever. Although it may surprise you if you've been believing the lies of the fossil fuel industry, uh, lies and the smear campaigns. So UC Berkeley found that between 2018 and 2022, CO2 emissions from all sources, industries, homes, traffic across San Francisco Bay Area dropped around 1.8% per year, a difference researchers attribute to the widespread adoption of EVs in the area. For vehicle emission rates, those numbers dropped 2.6% annually, and EVs made up 40% of new auto registrations in San Jose and 34% in San Francisco last year. We show from the atmospheric measurements that adoption of EVs is working and that it's having the intended effect on CO2 emissions, says Ronald Cohen of UC Berkeley. Top comment by Henry Ng says, in 10 years' time, we in the Bay Area will see the direct results of EV by simply counting the number of spare the air days per year, and people with respiratory issues will have fewer concerns to worry about. Indeed. Looks that scan might be done. Nope, it's not. So we'll continue. And speaking of EV adoption, let's talk about people who are afraid of EV adoption, mostly because it affects their wallets to not be afraid of EV adoption. Secretary Buttigieg likens EV rejectors to landline Luddites. So Buttigieg said skeptics risk being left behind by technological progress. It feels like the early 2000s, he said in defense of the Biden administration's EV policies, which aim for 50% EV sales by 2030. And I'm talking to some people who think we can just have landline phones forever. I mean, I'm not even going to build my next house with provisions for landlines. I will have copper going to every wall, but actually, it might not even be copper. It might be fiber. Anyway, uh, yeah, it'll probably be copper too. Maybe fiber and copper, because there's some stuff that just doesn't need full speed. Anyway, in the interview, he tackled current anti-EV narratives, including that a recent slump in Tesla deliveries indicates a lack of interest in EVs, or if you want to believe the legacy domestic auto dealers that EVs aren't selling. when it's really almost entirely their fault that their EVs are not selling. Tesla now faces more competition, including from the Detroit triumvirate of Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis. I don't see a Stellantis EV for consumers yet. It will be here, but it's not here now. Buttigieg just noted that expressing confidence in the automotive sector is moving towards EVs, and we can't pretend otherwise. Yeah, you're burying your head in the sand if you try that. So speaking of burying your head in the sand, let's see if that's our next story or not. No, it's not. We're gonna do some more good news before we talk about the folks burying their head in the sand, um, because it would have uh, interrupted the flow that I picked. Solar topped coal in Texas for the first time ever in March. Isn't that nice? So solar topped out coal's output in Texas for the first time, sending 3.26 million megawatt hours into the grid versus coal's 2.96 million megawatt hours in March. Wow, that's substantial. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, we beat them by zero point zero 0.01 million megawatt hours. No, it's wow. ERCOT's generation data also revealed that the coal market share fell below 10% for the first time ever to just over 9%. The decline began a decade ago, but picked up since 2016, 2017, when solar first showed up in the generation data. There you go. So there's coal, there's utility scale solar, and then probably residential solar would push this even higher if you were to count them. Isn't that nice? And let me check on that scan again. Almost there. All right, so while it gets ready, let's copy the next article. Let's go to Quebec, where EV sales are doing so well that our Canadian friends had to uh, had to stop something very popular. They had to end the EV purchase incentives because they couldn't afford it. They were very popular, and this will affect the sales because we're looking at up to $7,000, and that will make a difference in this economy uh, for people being able to afford cars or EVs even. Uh, but as we saw with Tesla and GM, it didn't make that much difference in their sales because they were able to adjust. So if the automakers that sell in Canada can still adjust, this will make a huge difference in the sales in Canada. Hopefully. All right, back to that scan. It's almost done. I don't like running the drive, but especially the main drive with no free space. Because as we saw, it crashed my Outlook and I had to reinstall it. And who knows what else was breaking in the background? Time machine. Uh, if it does it again after I clear it out, what I would probably do is turn off time machine and turn it back on. There's our scan. Okay, so my server backup is using 17 gigs, and my time machine is using 4 gigs and 671 megs and 48 megs and 141 megs and 23 megs. And so that 17 gigs that it's using is probably coming from the time machine because my server does an image backup of this machine. So as that daggum thing just starts chewing it out, it will use more as well. And that's not enough. 17 gigs and oh, whoops. I tried to take 82 megs from the server and it got mad at me. All right, so I'm showing 792 gigs of snapshots. This will clear out 6. So where are the other hundreds of gigs of snapshots? Because 19 and 17 is not 792. I'm not in the middle of an OS update. I've got the iPad if we need it, and then I've got a Windows laptop. My Windows desktop doesn't fit through the door because it's a desk. I think I can take off the monitor arm for the desk, and then it'll fit through the door. I haven't tried it yet. I'm gonna try that at some point. Probably not until after the end of the month, though, because I've got so much to do. All right, so we should be showing some free space, like a little bit. Yeah, we've got 183 gigs free now, so that should be something. Not enough, but something. And back to the articles, and then I guess I'll need to run another scan. Yeah, we got 190 to work with before the thing goes crazy again. All right, where are you guys at? Lost you again. You're the one with the speaker on you. Oh, I see why. It perfectly hides behind that other window. I've moved you out a little bit to the right so I can at least see you. Exotic Geek says, "Hey, howdy." And isn't Texas Sunland empty space? Yeah, I mean that's why I don't understand why Texas wasn't doing more wind and solar, and still isn't doing more wind and solar than they are. Other than the fact that their grid is just thoroughly undermaintained, and it probably can't handle uh, that load combined with whatever they're doing with the methane and other fossil fuels. But as the coal goes down, coal is only going down even if there were no renewables. Coal is dead because the methane and all the other petroleum-based fuels are cheaper than coal, and it's just coal is done. But when you've got something that's next to free in renewables, they're actually the ones that are pushing it over the edge faster than the other fossils. All right, so we talked about Quebec running out of money. Well, running out of money for incentives. Copy link. Let's talk about. There was also a story that Marcus and Dan sent me about a crane that fell on a Model Y, but it also fell on a fossil car, so I didn't really want to do that story after I saw the fossil car. So after 1,000 owners host, oh, sorry, over 1,000 owners host the largest light show yet in South Korea, and that is really cool. So I'm curious now if you folks that are going over to Michigan in a couple weeks, if you all will be able to top this. It's just $10. Go see many of your favorite Tesla tubers. You've got our friend Mark Coughlin, Future Asa, uh, Dirty Tesla, and so on and so on. So many. Uh, it's bound to be fun. Uh, it's quite a drive for me, so I'm not planning on going. But if I find myself with free time off work, it's only $10. I might consider it. So 1,000 Tesla Light shows. So let's see if I can play this and mute it because whatever music is probably going to have us a little YouTube issue. Okay, good. Clapping is not copyrighted. Um, 17 seconds. They did. They had like I guess, a drone overview, or is that the recording? That's kind of cool. And all right, so that's their celebration. Let's see if I can't do. Oh, I didn't want to go to X. Uh, Share this tab instead. 2024 Tesla K Light Show, 1,000 units successful, world's largest, world's first. Are you watching? Is the translation accurate? I don't know Korean. It looks accurate. All right, continuing on. Y'all know I am super interested in rockets, especially this Starship Super Heavy. So here is the next booster for launch 4, doing its static fire. And it was a long one. That live. I saw the first Falcon Heavy, the one that launched the car into space, and I saw the uh, demo Crew Dragon, the one that launched the mannequin basically into space to the ISS. I didn't see Bob and Doug go up on the launch, but I did hear them come overhead with their sonic boom as they came down. Sonic boom, psh, and then they were landing in Florida. Just moves that fast. um, I didn't see it. I heard it because it was a super cloudy day, so I didn't have a chance. I went outside just in time to get the sonic boom, but did not see them. And if you don't recall, Bob and Doug was the first manned uh, Crew Dragon uh, to go up and come back. All right. So the Tesla FSD fleet has managed to set a new milestone. They have crossed 1 billion miles of FSD piloted miles between FSD supervised and FSD beta. Congratulations to Tesla. I contributed greatly to that. 'Cause even though I work from home now, we still put some miles on the car, and here it is. So we saw in 2023 September is when they really hit the exponential mark there, and I mean these were still going up like crazy, but 2023 September is where it really took off to finally hit a billion miles in April of 2024. Um, want to reorganize this. I do want to reorganize this a little bit, so make sure I don't say this one again. The one thing I do like about this software is it speaks when somebody joins in, so I know I haven't left. All right, so Musk reiterates that FSD licensing is on offer for other automakers. FSD driving suite may attract a lot of criticism from critics, but the fact remains that it is one of the most advanced driver assist systems available for consumers today. And right here is where you get a lot of folks talking about, oh, well, Blue Cruise does this and Super Cruise does that, and my Mercedes can do this thing. Nobody else is doing city streets, including turns and following the map, unless you count Waymo. I would say Cruise, but Cruise is not currently operating. So you've got Waymo, and then you've got the heavy truck folks that are not really on the same level as this. And I don't know if they're doing the city streets. They might just be doing highway. So yes, if you're talking about the highway, anybody can do it and can do it just as well. Um, although very few of them change lanes to pass low traffic or let people in or anything like that. But they could if they wanted to, or at least if you push the button. Many of them. Some of them are not that smart, and you have to manually do all lane changes. But my understanding is, other than Ultra Cruise, which, as we saw, is no longer readily on the roadmap, none were talking about being able to do city streets like we see with the various versions of FSD beta supervised. Um, so, with that out of the way, the driver assist systems are widely available today. One would need to see the critical media coverage on Tesla Autopilot that other prominent driver systems have offered now from automakers like Ford, GM, and Mercedes-Benz. However, they tend to have numerous limitations. We'll license that tech to other car companies, says Elon. Yeah, so this guy said the same thing. The story is much more different in inner city streets. In such locations, FSD supervised competes only with sophisticated autonomous driving solutions such as Waymo and Cruise, provided that Tesla could further refine FSD supervised to such a degree that it is unequivocally safer than the average human driver in both freeways and inner streets. The system would likely be a no-brainer for other automakers. Mhm. The important part of that was that they're still have licensing on the table. All right, so we talked about billion miles. We talked about licensing it. Now I need to find the billion miles again so we can get to the next story on track. Heavy booster, billion miles. All right, so I told you I had changed up what would be the next logical story to discuss after another one, and it would be this. Ford's postponed EV launches to focus on hybrid production. Looking at the at least two Ford EVs are been shelved to focus on hybrids. The legacy automaker is delaying the launch of a three-row EV and its next generation pure electric pickup truck. And this isn't the first time that Ford has postponed EV plans. In October of 23, they postponed a $12 billion EV investment after noting that customers were no longer willing to pay premium for electric cars. And see, that's your problem right there, is that your dealers aren't selling the trucks and they don't want to, and that you have priced them too high. It's not that nobody wants electric cars. People love electric cars, especially if it does the range they need, and they have charging facilities at home or at work, or if it charges fast enough on public infrastructure and still has a large range. Um, because that's the hard part right now is folks who don't have charging at home. And as we're about to just hammer home, and as I said at the beginning of the show, uh, cheaper EVs are going to sell more, and that's going to be the way it is in the future. I'm not saying there's no room for expensive EVs, but if you want to grow, you're going to have to grow through cheaper EVs. You can still do some growth with the more expensive stuff, but if you really want to see the numbers that everybody's complaining about, you need some everyman EVs. Talking that $25,000 Tesla. We're talking uh, anything that's under the average selling price, the 40 and change, the 47. I think it's gone up to. So anywhere from 20,000 to that 47, and you'll see. And yes, there's a large smattering of EVs under the 47 right now, but people don't necessarily know that they cost that little. They don't know they exist because, as I said, the on average, the dealers are sitting there whining, complaining that they have to sell EVs. Not all of them. There are some that get it, and and then the fact that most of these EVs just are not advertised as being affordable. They'll sell the green aspects. They'll sell the, hey, you're independent from the companies, but they won't tell you, oh, by the way, you can get it now for 200 a month or whatever. I guess it probably won't be 200 a month with this interest rates, but still under 400 a month. And now my microphone is complaining about storage. Seriously, let me check the storage space. How bad are we doing? We still got 182. All right, let's go back here. I don't know what happened. Baby's crying. Crying boo boo. Copy link. So what looks like a step back isn't really a step back. What'd you hurt, baby?
Carb cooking rice.
You pinched your cover finger in the rice cover? Mhm. Which one? This one?
This one
This one.
is not.
You really wanted the rice. You good? Okay, you good? You wanted me to kiss it, and that's it. Okay, you'll do better.
Close and
Oh, you closed it on yourself. Oh, you closed it on her. Oh,
see. Do and I try to cut. It's not fun.
oh. We tried to pinch your finger. Bad mommy.
She don't want me to touch it.
You want to hold some cold water? That'll make you feel better. Yeah, go hold some cold water. Yeah, there you go. So this one may seem like a step back, but it is not. What's really happening here is that the commercially available EV pickups just EV pickups, the commercially available EV Class 8 and Class 6 trucks just are not at the volume we need to require them yet. As a matter of practical regulations, you can't force the people to buy EV trucks if they can't buy them in the volume that they need. Uh, but what you can do is just like we saw with the passenger cars and do sort of a fossil trading program. So that way, as the trucks come out, those that are still buying fossils will, or building fossils, I should say, will have every incentive to switch faster. But right now, you've got your Tesla semis are in trials. You got the e Cascadia and all the others are just hard to get. And You've got the European brands that are just same situation over in Europe. It's just you need a lot more batteries for these, and very few of them are willing to try different aerodynamic shapes and other technologies to make this happen faster. So if you just swap out one power plant for the other, as we saw that you can very easily do in construction, you can do here as well. But there's a balance because the way that the others are doing it, you have to stay within the weight limits of the road, and you only get a bonus ton for going EV on uh, on the semis. I think it goes all the way down, but you only get a bonus ton, and that's in both in North America and in Europe. So if you need more than a ton, you're not gonna complete the mission. So let's take a look and see what kind of details they have given us. So this is from model years 2027 to 2032. Doesn't feel good because we can fix it before then, but we will just be in the ramp at 2027. But 2032, this should not be an issue for us. So, like the new emission standards for passenger cars recently confirmed, these rules do not mandate EVs, but they set much tougher emissions targets that will likely lead to more EV sales. And see, that's where it's going to help here. That's where hybrids make sense. If you can't get if you can't get a full EV truck, you can get a plug-in serial truck, or you can get a other type of hybrid, just anything to get the emissions down. And then because it's so much easier to get the emissions when you don't have any, as soon as the price is down and the tech is ready en masse, you can just swap them in at the ready for your other like EVs, fuel cells, all that stuff. And hopefully the Tesla semi ramps because they obviously got their price down, the batteries up, and once they're doing it, the competition can just rip one apart and then copy one as best they can. Uh, I like the line electric trucks too. So anyway, the Associated Press notes that up to 40% of short-haul day cab trucks potentially going electric by 2032 model year, but only 30% of heavy-duty vocational trucks. They'll avoid 1 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions and provide 13 billion in annualized net benefits to society. Sorry, and could save 57,000 lives. A 2021 study found. Yeah, because this stuff is real. It's not helping our systems aren't made to handle pollution. All right, then we've got, as I was saying earlier, about the cheaper EVs. You make them compelling, you make them cheaper, and then you've got cases of so you've got Kia's full throttle on EVs despite Ford pulling back. Kia is fully prepared to invest in EVs despite growing concerns of slow demand for EVs, and the concerns they're just nebulous. Doesn't say who has concerns, so you could do better there on your reporting. During Kia's CEO Investor Day event, the Asian car maker announced plans to sell 3.2 million EVs in the global market in 2024. Kia ultimately aims to boost its EV global sales to 4 million by 2027 and 4.3 million by 2030. They expect to sell 761,000 pure BEVs and hybrids this year, and the company expects to sell BEVs and HEVs for 24% of their total sales. It's not bad. 24% is a lot better than what we say for Nissan. 2, 2%. Yeah. All right. So continuing on with that, and that's not to say that all the Kia EVs are cheap. They're just like I said, they were a lot closer to that median price that we need for this to work. All right, we talked about FSD already, so that's not the next one. There's another story that's just missing. That was talking about how Hyundai and Kia together had set a new record, and I don't know where it went. Mr. All Electric Car Lunacy says slowing demand, specifically for Ford and VW EVs. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like the dealers are the ones complaining that they can't move the cars, not that that it's actually hard to move the cars. All right, so there was a missing article. I don't know where it went. It's not in the list anymore. But Hyundai Kia Group. Oh wait, there it is. I stepped over it. I must have stepped over it. Um, So let's leave this one up. Go to this one instead. Share tab. And so Hyundai Motor, including Kia, top Ford and GM in the US EV market with affordable EVs. So go figure, if you sell an EV under $80,000, some people can afford to buy it. Who knew? And and this is a clunky headline. Just call it Hyundai Motor Group, or conglomerate, or the family, whatever. You don't have to say Hyundai and Kia unless they're just specifically trying to exclude Genesis. But even the Genesis isn't that expensive because it's just a premium version of these two. So through the first 3 months of 2024, Hyundai sold 66,822 Ioniq 5s, and Hyundai's second dedicated EV, the Ioniq 6, saw sales of surge 1,542% to 3,646, and the Kona Electric was doing great as well. And here are their starting prices: 32, 36, and 41. I think right now that the Bolt is gone. So I mean, you could probably still find some, but now that the Bolt is not actively in sale, this is the new sales crown, without incentives and without the delivery fee apparently of 32,675. You can find some cheaper Teslas and everybody, but depending on the state, that you can get the $25,000 Teslas, $28,000 Teslas, whatever we said at the time. This would still qualify for a lot of that. And yes, that was like Colorado or something where you were able to stack a bunch of credits, but that doesn't negate the fact that it exists. All right, let's go back over here. Tesla executive says that Auto Park will get faster in future releases. So we talked about Auto Park last week. We showed you a snippet of Chris Dirty Tesla's. Well, no, we didn't show his. We showed a snippet of somebody else's. I watched Chris's video, and I ended up watching through the end of what I watched last week. I said, I only watched a little bit. I watched to the end of it. Anyway, so we watched the one that we watched from X on video, and it'll be faster than what we saw. Did you point? I pointed out, and you saw that it was still slower than we would like, but it wasn't as bad. Um, and then finally, let's talk about this. We Ride RoboSweeper S1 claims to be the first L4 driverless sweeper. So you'll be able to drive it up to the place that you're going to be sweeping, push a button and get out, or push a button and then do paperwork. I don't know. It sweeps, it vacuums, it washes. That's what the maker claims, at least. Uh, I guess you probably still need a driver for figuring out the cars that didn't move for street sweeping day, unless they have parking enforcement come by before the sweepers come by and handle that. Until driverless cars roam the streets of the world like we were promised numerous times by forward-looking vintage movies and automaker leaders alike, we make do with the best next best thing: an autonomous sweeper. Yes, we know it's not exactly glamorous, but according to the Guangzhou-based autonomous tech startup WeRide, RoboSweeper S1 is the first level 4 autonomous driving sanitation equipment capable of dealing with all scenarios on open roads. Well, there we go. It also sounds like you don't have to drive it to this place where it's going to start. It's on sale now for an undisclosed price, and WeRide has already signed contracts with multiple partners that amount to nearly tens of millions of dollars in orders. Not bad. So you go from driving the street sweeper to managing a fleet of street sweepers. Like uh, that actually is kind of cool, especially if it comes with a pay raise. The striking thing is it's a big slab body of black material instead of the conventional windshield. It's because there's nobody inside the vehicle. Oh, I didn't notice that before. That's not glass. And that's probably not like a human door, although it could be, like, if you're driving from screens when you're, like, moving it around the lot or whatever. I'll probably mute it, that's what I was gonna say. How long is this video? It's not bad. So you got sensors everywhere, and it does look like those red boxes we were talking about for, passenger transport, but they would have tons of windows and not no windows. through an app. Is it wireless charging? That might not be wireless charging. The one behind it had something going to it. That one might have just been ready. Autonomous honking, blind spot detection. There shouldn't be any blind spots. Smoothly passes through the ETC, the electronic something terminal. Operation mode, sweeping, spraying and dust suppression, full scene coverage, sidewalks, riverbanks, motorized lanes, parks. Cool. You know what though? I'm now thinking of the guy who would come and sweep every night at the grocery store I worked at. Um, you could have a fleet of these, and they would actually do a good job every night instead of an okay job most nights. Mr. All Electric Lunacy says, um, I need to click on something that's not a browser because it's not letting me click. There we go. Hoping that Street Sweeper Company licenses Gary Wright's song, I Believe You Can Sweep the Streets for Me. Yes. This thing looks cool, and they won't sell the price, but I guess they don't need to for quite a while if they've got millions of orders. Wow. Daps the brush with. This thing looks cool. I mean, for a street sweeper, obviously. Covers the plaza with blind spot areas, cleaning efficiency. Not bad. Bring it. Automatic traffic light detection. So maybe um, my first time in New York with my wife, she complained that whatever borough we were in was dirty. Perhaps with something like this, uh, uh, the boroughs don't need to be dirty. That's a lot shorter than I thought. I thought it was like a full size, but I guess it doesn't need to be because you don't need to get up and above to see everything. Okay, bring it. All right. Mr. All Electric Car Lunacy says, going to give a lot of people double takes on the sidewalks. Looks like a UPS is coming at you. It does. It totally does. But the good thing is, it should do the right thing. I'm also curious then if they have like a command center where like a knock where a network operations center where you can kind of like draw a path and help it out if it gets confused. But level 4 has a meeting, and they are doing it. The level 5 means in all conditions, and level 4 means in most conditions. But you don't need to street sweep in a hurricane, so I get it. That makes perfect sense. You don't need to go to level 5 if you're not gonna be driving in adverse, disaster scenarios. So, with that, I have to get to an appointment, and we will catch you on the flip side. I wanna thank all of you for your time today, and I wanna thank our channel members, patrons, and, everybody that, does little one-time deals for helping us maintain the software and connections, etcetera. And we'll catch you on the flip side.